let it be known that John Faust is not here this evening. He is with Georgia Power in Savannah, Georgia. Lonnie, would you open with the invocation, please?
Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to join together tonight to conduct business for the city. Lord, we thank you for all of our guests and all of the favors and blessings in your name. Amen.
And please, the pledge, please, ma'am.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, Mr. Faust is out, and we have a 5-person council, and we have a vacancy, which we have our candidates here this evening. We'd like to welcome you. Council, we have the agenda. On your agenda that was sent to you earlier, items C, D, and I were not on. If you would take note of that, but would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Motion to approve the agenda. Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. That's unanimous. Thank you, council. Please to the minutes of September the 12th, 2016 regular meeting.
Mayor, we recall the meeting order promptly at 6 p.m. He requested Reverend Max Taylor give the invocation. Councilmember Jim Looney led an recital of Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Weaver stated that Councilmember Tony Fountain was not able to attend this council meeting. Mayor Weaver asked that the agenda be reviewed and approved by council. Councilmember Jim Looney made a motion to approve the agenda with an addition to discuss a planning session for council. Councilmember Ann Snavy seconded the motion. Mayor Weaver stated that the addition would be added to the mayor's report section of the agenda. Motion carried unanimously. City Clerk Lisa Boyle read the minutes of the August 1st, 2016 regular meeting. Councilmember Ann Snavy made a motion to adopt the minutes. Councilmember Jim Looney seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item A under old business. Mayor Weaver recognized Chief Steve Roper to present an update to council on the hazard mitigation grant for the emergency generators. Chief Roper stated that GEMA was still waiting on approval from FEMA for the additional cost. No action taken. Item B under old business. Mayor Weaver recognized Attorney Bill Pickett to present the first reading of the amendment to Chapter 10, Article 9, Sales for Consumption on Premises, Section 10-309, Paragraph C, to change the food to alcohol ratio from 75-25 to 50-50. See attached ordinance changes read by Attorney Pickett. No action required. Item A under new business. Mayor Weaver recognized representatives from Kinley Horn to present to council an update on the traffic study. No action taken. Item B under new business. Mayor Weaver recognized Luke Copeland. Mr. Copeland stated he now owns land located at Mineral Springs on Main Street. He stated that the former owners of this property had deeded a portion of this land to the city for use of a street. He stated that the city has never used this property. He asked that the city deed the property over to himself as owner. Attorney Bill Pickett stated that the city has no need for this land and it is not appropriate for use as a city street. A map of this property is attached to these minutes as referenced. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion that the city change the deed to this land to reflect Luke Copeland as the owner. Councilmember Jim Looney made such motion. Councilmember Ann Snavy seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item C under new business. Mayor Weaver recognized employees Tanya Dutton and Andrew Cochran, as well as Kathy East with Courtware, to present to council the recommendation to switch from our current court and police management system to Courtware. Ms. Dutton stated that the contract would cost the city $9.50 per ticket collected and that the expense would be paid from the city's technology surcharge fund. Following the presentation, Mayor Weaver entertained a motion to approve the contract with Courtware. Councilmember Jim Looney made such motion. Councilmember Ann Snavy seconded the motion. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Item D under new business. Mayor Weaver recognized Attorney Bill Pickett to present the first reading of amendments to the following ordinances. Chapter 10, Article 9, Sales for Consumption on Premises, Section 10-343. Chapter 10, Article 9, Sales for Consumption on Premises, Section 10-344. Chapter 10, Article 9, Sales for Consumption on Premises, Section 10-345. Chapter 74, Article 5, Hotel Motel Excise Tax, Section 74-116, Paragraph B. Chapter 74, Article 3, Ad valorem tax, Section 74-51, Paragraph B. Mr. Pickett stated that the reason for the amendments was passing of House Bill 960, which changed the way that interest and penalty on delinquent taxes calculated. No action required. Item G under new business, Finance Director Lisa Hoyle recommended to council the proposed millage rate. She stated that in order that the city not have a tax increase, the millage rate must be lowered from 4.69 mils to 4.683 mils. She is asking permission to advertise the proposed millage rate of 4.683. Mayor Weaver called for a motion to advertise the millage rate at 4.683. Councilmember Jim Loney made such motion, and Councilmember Anstey seconded. Discussion followed. Motion passed unanimously. Item H under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Jerry Netbethal to discuss contract negotiations between the city and Trans Radio Pictures Incorporated. Mr. Netbethal stated the city has requested Trans Radio pay $7,000 for 7 days use of Cove Creek area. Mayor Weaver stated that the city requested 2 changes in the contract in regard to the city's potential liability and location of legal proceedings if applicable. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to allow Mayor Weaver, City Attorney Bill Pickett, and Mr. Netbethal to negotiate the contract, and the mayor signed the contract with the changes as requested. Councilmember Anstey seconded the motion. Motion passed unanimously. Finance Director Lisa Hoyle gave the financial report for the month of August 2016. Bonnie Waters gave the animal control report for the month of August 2016. Mr. Waters also gave a report on upcoming paving projects in the city. Chief Greg Lovell gave a report of police activities for the month of August 2016. Captain Randy Banks gave a report of the fire activities for the month of August 2016. Councilmember John Faust gave an update on JYSA activities. Mayor Weaver stated that the mayor's golf tournament raised $10,000 for JYSA and a check would be presented to them for that amount. Mayor Weaver recognized Councilmember Jim Loney to open discussion for the next council planning session. It was decided that September 29, 2016 be set as a tentative date for the next planning session. Council members were asked to check their calendars and City Hall will be in touch to set up the meeting. Being no other business to come before council, Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Council is scheduled to convene next at the regular council meeting to be held October 10, 2016.
Entertain a motion. Motion to approve the minutes as read.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
After hearing the minutes, I remember one thing that I wanted to talk about sometime during the meeting. The $10 add-on to the tickets. We had discussed that being absorbed. And I think there was some misunderstanding about what happened to that $10 fee. Can we add some time to talk about that?
If I might, didn't we think we want to do that after January? For, to move it into the January of 2017?
I can't remember.
What?
But, you know, we're going in the budget time, and if it is indeed coming out of operating budget rather than an add-on to the ticket,
Can we put that on the next month's agenda?
we'll be doing budgets now.
But we can work it into the budget
Yeah.
and just have it ready to be approved at the next meeting.
Yeah, what y'all really didn't decide on was we're gonna add it to the ticket amount or take it directly out of the surcharge amount that's going into the
And
tech fee.
if we put it into the surcharge, then it is supplanted as, it's moving funds out of some other operating account, and I want to avoid.
Okay.
Yes.
But may I pay attention to, we're trying to approve the minutes, and we can approve the minutes as read. You can bring to our point this issue about the $10 and it will not reflect
I
here.
just want to make sure we could talk about it tonight.
Okay, well,
So
we can, but we can discuss it in the mayor's report because it's not an item on the agenda that we just approved.
Call the question.
Okay, any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, show of hands. Thank you, Councilman. Make a big note, stick to the sign. Okay. Old business, item A, Mr. Vaughn Heather. Vaughn, we have worked this A, old business, absolutely to death.
We have.
Set us at ease tonight.
Well, we got some good news this past week. As you know, the original grant was $361,231 that we got back in 2015. When we did the bids in March of this year, the low bid was $403,629. So with the increase of the cost of the generators and the cost of turnip seed engineering, we went back to FEMA with a price of $472,211. On October the 5th, last week, we received confirmation that we were awarded the additional funding in the amount of $472,211. This brings the federal share of this grant up to $354,158, with the state share being $47,221, and the city of Jasper share will be $70,832. The increase over the original budget cost that it was going to cost the city will be $16,647. Additionally, figured into this $472 is also the generator for the police department that has been awarded since the last time we met. So that generator's in there as well. So we went from the 5 generators to 6.
Okay.
And that's in the budget.
Okay, Lisa, we're looking at $16,640 more than the council approved at last year's budget. How can we?
Well, we have some projects that we have pushed into the next year's budget. We had in the budget, I don't have it in, this is general fund, and I don't have anything in the police department, except we didn't spend as much on the renovation of the police department as we had budgeted. We budgeted $10,000, we've spent approximately $5,000.
That should more than cover their share of the $16,000.
Yeah, well, their share is $7,382. But we also, I can take some from the Parks Department that we budgeted for bathrooms, $10,000 there that we've not done,
Okay.
and we pushed it into next year.
And did that cover the water? Did you say water on that?
No, water fund, we've got that covered. It's $9,265 extra that we're gonna have to spend in water. Well, the Cove Creek redirection, we got reimbursed for that this year, and we weren't planning on it. We didn't have that in the budget, the reimbursement, so that's an additional, we could budgeted expense of $76,400. Of course, it probably cost, $97,000, but we got reimbursed for
And
it.
there's other projects that we've estimated that we're not going to be able to achieve this year.
Right, that
So-
we're pushing into next year, so we've got the money in the budget to
Okay,
cover.
Lisa, you want to proceed this year, and Vaughn, you want to proceed this year for what reason?
The reason being, if we push this off till next year's budget, we're going to go through another increase in the cost of the generators. So if we can go ahead with that this year, we'll eliminate that cost, which he said would roughly be 10% of the cost of the generators itself.
And that would facilitate another bid.
That will push us back to having to rebid the process. And after this, we can't go back to FEMA anymore. This is all the money we'll be able to get for this project.
And we have to have the project finished by,
September of 2017.
okay. So, Lisa, do you have anything to add to not wanting this in next year's budget?
I don't want to wait till the price goes up.
It's not going to be a little easier to deal with not being in next year's budget.
Yeah.
But with that, council, the council has already approved all these actions prior to the city receiving extra funds from FEMA and GEMA. And we're looking at the $16,000. And basically, I'm asking the council this evening for permission, basically for a notice to proceed. And with that, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we proceed with the additional funding and the increase of $16,647 from city funding, proceed with the project.
Second. Motion and second, any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, Vaughn.
Thanks, Vaughn, for the hard work on that.
Thank you, a lot of time on that, a lot of time there.
Lisa, thank you as well.
Yes.
Okay, item B, alcohol food ratio ordinance change, second reading, Mr. Pickett.
Mind you, make sure that air conditioning doesn't come back on. Currently, our ordinance 10-309 reads, outlets not located within the hotel shall derive a minimum of 75% of their total annual gross food and beverage sales from the sale of prepared food, meal, and foods. Asking to go ahead and be the second reading to amend this code section of our ordinances, state that outlets not located within hotels shall derive a minimum of 50% of their total annual gross food and beverage sales from the sale of prepared meals and foods. So this would be a reduction from 75% to 50%.
Okay, and this is our second reading, so we'll entertain a motion.
Move the city accept this as a change to their ordinance.
Have a motion to approve the recommended changes?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Item C, alcohol excise tax interest / penalties, ordinance change, second reading, Mr. Pickett.
Code section 10-343, entitled Deficiency in Payment, Interest, and Notice. These changes are being made based on a change in state law, so everybody will know. It's not something we're making up. Our ordinance reads, should the city determine that any deficiency exists in the amount of tax due by the licensee for one or more monthly periods, the amount of the deficiency shall bear interest at the rate of 1.5% per month, or a fraction thereof from the due date of the taxes. Be amended to read, should the city determine that a deficiency exists in the amount of tax due by the licensee for one or more monthly periods, the amount of such deficiency shall accrue interest at the highest lawful rate from the due date of the taxes.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve as read. Motion is second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council.
Current section 10-344, failure to timely file return.
Are you reading one now, Bill? This is item D, right?
Okay.
Item D, hotel motel tax interest penalties ordinance change. Thank you.
Current code section reads, should the city determine that it exists in the amount of the tax due by the licensee. Wait just a minute. Twice. It's 3-44, failure to timely file return. The amount of the determination shall bear interest at the rate of 1.5% per month, or fraction thereof, from the 20th day of the month, following the monthly period for which the amount or any portion thereof would have been returned until the date of the payment. Would be amended to read, the amount of the determination shall accrue interest at the highest lawful rate from the 20th day of the month following the monthly period for which the amount or any portion thereof would have been returned until the date of the payment. For the purposes of this accrual, any period of less than 1 month shall be considered to be 1 month.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the second reading of that.
Motion to approve the second reading. Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Item E, ad valorem tax interest penalties ordinance change, second reading. Mr. Pickett.
This will be code section 10-345, penalty for late payment. Any licensee who fails to pay the tax herein imposed shall fail to pay any amount of the tax required to be collected and paid to the city within the time required, shall pay a penalty of 20% of the tax, or the amount of the tax, in addition to the tax and amount of the tax, plus interest on the unpaid tax and any portion thereof, as set forth. It would be amended to read, tax amounts that remain unpaid 120 days from the due date shall be increased by a penalty of 5% of the amount of the tax due and not paid at the time such penalty is assessed, together with the interest as specified by law. After 120 days from the imposition of the initial penalty, the additional penalty of the 5% of any tax amount remaining due shall be imposed, together with the interest as specified by law. If any tax amount remains due after 120 days from the imposition of such additional penalty, a penalty of 5% shall be imposed together with the interest as specified by law. Should any amount remain due past 120 days from the date, the penalty of 5% shall be imposed together with the interest as specified by law. The aggregate amount of the penalties imposed in this subsection shall not exceed an amount equal to 20% of the principal amount of the tax originally due.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve ad valorem tax increase penalty ordinance change. Motion and second. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Again, as Mr. Pickett said, this is housekeeping, basically state law that has come to us that we need to update our ordinances.
All right, the next one will be 74-51. And this has to do with ad valorem tax also to change. Ad valorem taxes are due 60 days from the date they are levied. Tax bills that remain unpaid 30 days from the due date shall accrue interest at the highest lawful rate until paid. Tax bills shall remain unpaid for 60 days from the date of the levy shall be increased by a penalty in the amount established by the city council. It would then be changed and would read now. Ad valorem taxes are due 60 days from the date they are levied. Tax bills that remain unpaid after the due date shall accrue interest at the highest lawful rate until paid. For the proposed purposes of this accrual, any period of less than 1 month shall be considered to be 1 month. Tax bills that remain unpaid 120 days from the due date shall be increased by a penalty of 5% of the amount of the tax due and not paid at the time such penalty is assessed, together with the interest as specified by law. After 120 days from the imposition of the initial penalty, an additional penalty of 5% of any tax amounts remaining due shall be imposed, together with the interest as specified by law. If any tax amount remains due 120 days from the imposition of the additional penalty, a penalty of 5% shall be imposed together with the interest as specified by law. Should any tax amount remain due 120 days after such date, a penalty of 5% shall be imposed together with the interest as specified by law. The aggregate of such penalties imposed pursuant to this subsection shall not exceed an amount equal to 20% of the principal amount of the tax originally due.
Entertain a motion.
Move to accept this as change to city ordinance.
Motion to change the second reading. Need a second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you.
Is that one more?
Are you serious? I thought you were finished with that.
Subsection 74-116 establishes a due date delinquency of penalties. A lodging provider who fails to make any return or pay an amount of tax as prescribed shall be assessed as a specified penalty to be added to the tax in the amount of $5 or 5%, whichever is greater. If the failure is of 1 month or less, an additional 5% or $5, whichever is greater, for each additional month or fraction thereof, in which such failure shall continue, provided, however, that the aggregate penalty for any single violation shall not exceed 25% or $25, whichever is greater. Delinquent amounts shall bear interest at the rate of 1% per month, or fraction thereof until paid. That would be amended to read: a lodging provider who fails to make any return or pay the amount of tax as prescribed on or before the due date shall be assessed interest on the delinquent tax at the highest lawful rate until paid. For the purposes of this accrual, any period of less than 1 month shall be considered to be 1 month. Tax amounts that remain unpaid 120 days from the due date shall be increased by a penalty of 5% of the amount of the tax due and not at the time of such penalty is assessed, together with the interest as specified by law. After 120 days from the imposition of this initial penalty, an additional penalty of 5% of any tax amount remaining due shall be imposed together with the interest as specified by law. If any tax amount remains due 120 days from the imposition of such additional penalty, a penalty of 5% shall be imposed, together with the interest as specified by law. Should any tax amount remain due 120 days after such date, a penalty of 5% shall be imposed, together with the interest as specified by law, and the aggregate amount of penalties imposed pursuant to this subsection shall not exceed an amount equal to 20% of the principal amount of the tax originally due.
Entertain a motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. I heard Mr. Lemon. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, Bill. Under new business, we have a check for JYSA. JYSA, Allison Woody is here this evening. Would you come forth and have a little photo session and
Absolutely.
take the pictures from waist up, please? We don't have a big check
You
anymore.
ready, one?
Step back here. And give me Ann on the other side of Jim. That's what's in here. It's in here. Thank you. We used to have a really big check,
Yeah.
but we kept having to change the size of it, the prize numbers on it. Thank you so much, and
Thank
appreciate
you.
JYSA and all the efforts that you do for our youth.
Thank you very much.
You're my stand-in. Item B, we have with us tonight Mr. Shane Finley, the noise ordinance. If you would, Shane, come forth and I'll do a little intro for you. Chief Lovell, would you come up as well, please? Council, I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Looney, and I think I've had a chance to speak with you, and Tony, you may be trying to play catch up. I didn't get a chance to speak with you about this. You may know something about this. Shane, what is your address?
125 Town Creek Trail.
125 Town Creek Trail. Shane, you have the floor, and I'm not going to put a time limit on you, and let you explain to the council why you are here this evening.
Okay. Well, I've talked with Johnny a few times about, they're about a half a mile from my house, across the hill and the other side of the interstate. For the past probably 4 years, we've had, at times, enough noise around our windows with the bass. Different times, different levels of noise that we can hear inside our house, and then outside our pool area, anything you're doing outside, you hear rockos. Friday, Saturday nights, Wednesday nights, sometimes every other night, Sunday afternoon, all subject to hearing. And in the last couple of weeks, it's been a little better. They're still, for the last 4 years, they'll go on the track where they're not as bad for a week or two, and then they'll get back loud. I think it depends on who's there. All that said, I'm just asking for some help. I've asked John, who's been trying to help us, he's been helping us out with it. We can get it quiet for a little while, and then it goes right back up. And, there's several other families and houses that are affected. We're not the only ones, but, I'm here by myself tonight. But, I never like to complain or like to be a part of anything. I'm not against Rocco's. I want them to enjoy theirs on their property and let me have peace and quiet on mine. So, and, there's people, twice as far as me from the place that I talk to that can hear it and different things. So anyway, I think, and I don't know, Lovell probably knows more about what the fines are, the know there's been a lot of complaints in the last 4 years at night. I don't know how many tickets they've gotten. And I've heard that the fine is probably $100 or something. Which is not, it probably works for an individual that's making noise, but for a business, that's a cost to do a business. I don't think it would hurt his business to not rock us out, because Saturday night I didn't hear it, the place was packed, I drove by it, and I didn't hear it at my house, so I don't think the level of noise is what makes his living, but, that's his business, but, we need some help.
Okay.
In the community.
If I might, Shane, inject, I ask you a question. How many times do you think you have called me over the last 2 years?
You directly, probably 10. Something
Okay.
like
And did I tell you to call me at any time?
that.
And I'll see what I can get done with it. And when you called me, did you get released shortly thereafter?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to set that stage for the council and for just the public, that let it be known that I have not ignored Shane's
Oh,
feeling.
no.
I have looked to see a few times that you called me, and I may not have called you back, but I kind of knew what you were asking.
Yeah.
But with that being said, council, why I asked Shane to come tonight is to tell you, I started giving your phone numbers, but I thought better of it.
Yeah.
But Shane wanted to come and speak to you to see what we could do, because obviously he just made mention that our fine schedule does not seem to be working. But to get you more information and the public more information, I'd like to recognize Chief Lovell and let him tell the council as what he has done as the chief of police on behalf of the neighborhood. Please.
Yes, sir. Evening, Mayor and Council. Like you said, this has been going on about 4 years. I think the past 2 years has been more. I'd have to pull the recent CAD report, but like I said, he's not the only. You see, got complaints. This is from 2012, 2014. Got Gary Burger, James Finley, Kelly Chumley, Lauren Farmer, Kelly Finley, John Bay, Mary Bay, John Bay, Cassie Weaver, Tony Couch, and some of these complaints come from the apartments. It's pretty close to them. 2014, we went over and issued Dan citation for violating our noise ordinance, which is passed. As you well know, you can't be making noise up until 10 o'clock. All the citations were written well in. And Dan and I went and sat with him, my former assistant chief, Dr. Dawkins. We told Dan, hey, how about 10 o'clock going unplugged, go acoustic? I mean, you're disturbing me. Well, he's pretty receptive to it, and he is go turn it down. But the bands keep going on, so sometimes the only way to get somebody's attention is written citation, get them for the judge. Issued a citation, he come in and paid it. This year, 2016, issued another citation. Came in and paid it. So he's not the only complainant around here. And looking at it, and Bill, you may have to help me a little bit on this. Under the noise ordinance, under 26-59 injunctions, it says the operation and maintenance of any device, vehicle, or machinery that violates normal sensitivity that endangers the comfort, response, health, peace, residents of the city shall be deemed and declared a public nuisance. And this may be abated similar by a restraining order or an injunction issued by a court of competent jurisdiction. And Bill might need to help me on that. From what I spoke to the chief magistrate today and asked him about it, what we would have to do, obviously, if this proceeds, is issue a nuisance ordinance, at which time Judge Johnson will have to kick it up to Superior Court for that supposed injunction of a restraining order and or injunction. And from what I've been told, anything that's kicked up from us, I think Judge Rooster Holland would hear the case. That's what I was told by the chief magistrate, and that's the only other option. You know, said we try to work with people. I know I don't live next to Shane. I'd probably have here too. In the same sense, we don't want to beat Dan to death and run him out of business. You know, last thing, we want businesses to come here, we don't wanna beat them down and run them out, but, you know, you gotta feel for these people over there, they're hearing, I don't hear it, I'm sure y'all don't, but, you know, so that's the only alternative I know to do is charge Mr. Dan with nuisance if it persists. It gets worse, and you will, in the winter time, the leaves fall off, and sound travels at night, especially up here in the mountains, so it becomes louder. Again, I talked to Dan, and it's like you said, sometimes it's the band. It's not really the music, like you talked today, you hear the boom, boom, the bass of the drum, or
That's the worst thing.
boom, boom, you know, of that. That's the only option I got.
Mr. Pickens, do you have any recommendations?
Well, we'd have to file a complaint for and that would be in Superior.
I asked Shane to come to present this to council tonight because I want the full council to work with the neighborhood in order, and Rocco's Grill, in order that we might come to some resolution that would make the neighborhood standard of living or quality of life what they had before the music started. At the same time, we want to send a message that this is what we want to accomplish, but at the same time, we want Rocco's to flourish. But my thought was, if the council could hear this report and this presentation, that the council might feel so moved to pass a resolution, or not necessarily a resolution, but a motion that would ask the chief of police to notify Rocco's Grill one more time that if this happens again, our recourse would be to bump this up to Superior Court to handle as a nuisance. And or that we might, as a council, raise the fine that would be more of a hindrance to someone who wanted to violate said ordinance. That would be open for discussion from the council, what you might so choose tonight. So I'll open the floor to the council who would like to address Mr. Finley and Mr. Pickett and Mr. Lowe.
Well, I can certainly say, if I was, these folks were there well before Rocco was coming to town. If I was living over there, I would probably be here with Shane tonight. I've been to Rocco's, a lot of us have. I personally don't understand why it has to be so loud. One of the reasons I don't go over there at night, when they're playing music, you can't talk to the person next to you. I mean, I personally just don't understand why it has to be that loud.
I've heard that from patrons as well.
So, I feel like that anything we do to help the residents around Rockville, that's what we need to do.
Mr. Lowe?
Certainly agree, and 2 citations
Have been written, yes.
have been written. I think
And numerous warnings, I mean, it's to the point when Shane would call somebody, we'd send the police directly over there, hey, sound man or whatever, Dan's most of the time not even there, he's at home. And they say turn it down, and pretty much they comply with it, okay? He's, like I said, sometimes it's better than others, and there was when this thing first started, Shane is a county resident. So he called the sheriff's department up there, the sheriff's department said, well, it's coming from the city. And the city would say, well, change it again. So finally, I just got to talking with everybody. I said, well, the city, the noise is coming from the city, so we'll act on it. And, granted, he's a county resident, but our city business is causing him discomfort, so we have to act on it. So.
Any recommendations, council?
I like the idea of doing one final warning with the intent that if it happens again, we move toward moving out to Superior Court as injunction.
And potentially stiffer fines from our court, or whatever would be legal.
That would be my question.
I think that's another action,
Okay.
but I don't think we can make that action
Okay.
right now.
Shane, with that tonight, no action except the next time you visit us, the council will act. If we can get Rocco's to comply, and probably one phone call, that's all. And so you can call me.
We want to make that a motion now so that
I think we could, if you would like to make a motion.
I think we make a motion now, take a vote on it, and it gives,
Fair warning.
well, it gives a fair warning and also gives Greg an ability to take the other step immediately rather than waiting.
Okay, make that a motion then.
Make a motion that we, ask the chief of police to sit down with the owner of Rocco's and discuss our current situation and the intent of council to move toward an injunction with Superior Court, should it happen again.
Get a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
I would like to say I appreciate all the help, and that's all I've got from all of this help.
Thank you.
I got that motion out fairly cleanly. That's unusual for me to get it out clean.
Did excellent. Item C, Mr. Underwood, alcohol license application continuance.
Mr. Mayor, council, I have, two alcohol, items tonight. One of them is Murphy Oil USA has put in a, application for a license to sell beer and wine. And we have sent them down to do their fingerprinting. This came in today, and they want to try to get their license prior to December. So I would like to ask the council to continue this application process. You don't have the fingerprints back yet, but you will have them next meeting. And if anything should be on there that we keep it from getting it, we need to do that at the next meeting.
Okay, so tonight is simply a request for continuance,
Yeah.
which also would give them permission to advertise.
Oh, yes, they'll have to advertise in the paper, they start that, and, they've gotten me all the information from our office to do that.
Okay. And we should see this at the next council meeting. Would entertain a motion to allow Murphy Oil to advertise and to continue its process for beer and wine by the package.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Mr. Underwood.
All right, the second item we have, Hans Rupert.
Oh, that's item D on my agenda, so let me recognize that point. You may proceed.
Okay. Hans Rupert at the Woodbridge Inn has requested let me back up. Hans used to have in his Woodbridge Inn restaurant a license to sell distilled spirits. He gave that up. He would like to get that back for the next 3 months. And then, of course, his renewal will come up in December, and in November for his license. But it's prorated. It would cost him probably $750 to get it for the next 3 months.
Okay, so we allow, whatever time you want to open and have a license, you can pay it prorated for that number of months. Okay?
Just for liquor.
He already has beer and wine. And he has had one in the past. Mr. Pickett, do you see any reason why we can't renew his, do we need to do a police check on Hans? And a background check, or can we take this now? This is why I wanted to come before council this evening.
Currently has a
Beer and wine.
beer and wine license.
Yes.
But
Any input, Mr. Pickett?
Has he filled out an application?
No.
He would have to go on and fill out an application, just like he would if he was starting fresh, pay the money,
And notify the state of his
and
intentions?
yes.
And if any,
Of course, he has to get a license for us before he can get the state.
right. So with that, council would entertain a motion to approve a remainder of this year, and of course, Mr. Rupert would be available to, or allowed to apply for next year's license for 12 months.
Since if he gets one this year, we will automatically send him a
Yes,
renewal.
okay. So he will be back in the distilled spirit
Yes,
at the Woodbridge, is what he indicated to me by text message.
yes.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve,
Second.
motion and second, any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by showing hands. Thank you, council, thank you, Sonny. Lisa Hoyle, millage rate homestead exemption, item E.
We discussed the millage rate last month at the regular meeting. I have advertised the millage rate in the paper at 4.683, which is 0.15% decrease in our millage rate. And we are recommending to council that tonight we adopt that millage rate.
Okay, you want to adopt that singularly and then adopt the homestead exemptions?
I guess we could do both at the same time.
Okay,
And we also recommend that we keep the same homestead exemption that we've had, which is 3,000 homestead exemption and 4,000 for 65 and older homestead exemption.
we entertain a motion. Got a motion to approve? Got a motion and a second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Item F, Lisa Hoyle, Trails Grant Resolution. If you will, do a little prelude for me into what this is.
Well, we applied for this grant last year, and I think she said we missed it by 5 points. So it was a $100,000 grant last year, and we talked to a representative with the regional commission today, the mayor and I did, and she never gave us an exact amount, but she said the grant would go up to 100,000, as I understood that. So she had sent me this resolution to get passed, to get the ball rolling. We're going to meet with her later in the week and see what we're going to have to do in the application process, what they require. And
Can I interrupt you? Just a little bit of information here. Last year, the grant included the purchase of the property or access to Arbor Hills. We lost the grant, didn't get the grant, and the council approved earlier in the year to purchase the property that was available. So we have that. That will be removed from the grant, but we still are going to have more than, I think, $100,000 expense from Arbor Hills to the Woodbridge as a trail. She was talking this morning, 100% matching, 20% matching. 100% will give us a better chance to get the $100,000 grant, what she was saying this morning.
yeah,
We're going to be discussing those things, but it could be from 20 to 100%. But I believe the trail, with the amount of city labor, the amount of machine and equipment is going to spend more than $100,000 on our behalf of building this from by the time we get our labor and equipment costs, as we did down at the work at the creek back in the summers. So I would like to have Lisa read the resolution, and if you so choose, vote in favor of it, then that will give us permission to move forward and negotiate, and actually negotiate, but plan and work with the Regional Planning Commission to get the grant if it's possible.
ready?
Yes.
Okay, this is resolution authorizing the submission of GRTP grant application for trail improvements, City of Jasper, Georgia. Whereas at the regular meeting of the mayor and council for the City of Jasper, Georgia, held on October 10, 2016, a motion was made and duly seconded that the City of Jasper agrees to submit an application for funding from the Georgia DNR Recreational Trails Fund. The City of Jasper further agrees that in the event the town's application is recommended for funding by the Department of Natural Resources, the City of Jasper certifies and assures that it has the ability and intention to finance their 20% of the total project cost. Now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and council of the city of Jasper, Georgia hereby approves the filing of a Georgia Department of Natural Resources Recreational Trails Grant, authorize the mayor to sign all required documents, and authorize the local match as needed. Be it further resolved, the city clerk is authorized to include the project in the upcoming calendar year of the 2017 budget. So resolved this 10th day of October, 2016, City Council of Jasper, Georgia.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve, I think I heard Tony. Second? That was Ann. Motion second, any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Okay, Bill, I haven't had a chance to speak to you, but item G is our public defender's position. We basically have had a substitute public defender for the last year, I guess it would be. But we have just recently notified that person that we would no longer need their services. Public defender. And the judge, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Myers, who is our prosecutor for the city court, has recommended to me to bring before the council Corey DeBoard and Jeannie Carver. Both are local, but their office is in Canton. You may be familiar with them. Bill, would you like to address council? Okay. With that, council, and their rate is $75 an hour, and it's basically in court. We meet 9 o'clock, third Monday, Tuesday, or whatever day it was. Yeah. And they work basically with the indigent, the people who have no ability to provide legal service for themselves. Would entertain a motion to approve Corey DeBoard and Jeannie Carver, PC.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve? Motion is second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. And for the record, minute purposes, would you add their address, 360 West Main Street, Canton, Georgia? Item G, I've just finished. Item H, personal policy. I'd like to recognize Mr. Looney. Wanted me to put this on per our planning meeting.
We discussed, we received copies of personnel procedures at our planning meeting 2 weeks ago. I think my personal feeling is it's something that needs to be looked at, and I would like to suggest a committee of the personnel director for the city manager, and one council member review the personnel policies for potential changes.
Okay.
And
I'd like to
report back to
throw Mr.
council.
Pickett in there as well.
And Mr. Pickett, great idea.
Okay, would entertain a motion to approve this recommendation, or what, better yet, I get to appoint committees, and Jim is asking for this to be done, and I would like to recommend that Jim be on the committee.
I would make the suggestion there's another member of the council that is more in tune with personnel than I am right now. I have worked in it for a number of years, but I've been out of it for a number of years too.
Well, in that case, would you accept Ann as a recommendation?
I think that would be a wonderful recommendation.
Okay. With that, I am forming a committee per Mr. Looney's request, made up of our personnel director, myself. I would also, if you wouldn't mind, ask Lisa to sit in with us as well, city clerk.
Absolutely.
And Ann and Mr. Pickett. And I will try to convene a meeting between now and the next council meeting. Okay?
And I think this is one of those things that doesn't.
But it's time to look at it.
Sure. I think it's important enough that if it takes more than a month, I don't have a bit of problem with that. I don't want to put a time limit on it.
Okay. Then we could just give a report next month, one way or the other. Item I, reduced water sewer rate application, Lisa.
Yeah, I have an
And
application.
if you would, for our guests, explain what this is. We hardly ever give a definition.
Well, in our ordinances, we offer for the elderly and low income reduced water and sewer rates. We from time to time get applications
Paying for the
for,
budget, you just plug it in. I'm sorry, I said, you get that done?
yeah,
Thank you.
And these meet our requirements.
they do more.
In council, I spoke with one of our clerks, who regularly check the address, the person who's living in that home, to make sure we have a continuance of that person and not that person passing away, because usually these are elderly people, and those will change out usually by the changing of the name of the water, because I have been concerned in the past that somebody 106 years old still receiving a water decrease. Entertain a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the reduced water,
A motion to reduce the approved,
to approve the reduced water.
Right. Okay. Need a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you. One of my most distasteful moments is when I have to ask for a closed session. But I would entertain a motion that we move the closed session to discuss real estate. And we'll have you back in less than 10 minutes.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
Any discussion? And then all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you. Just step outside just a few minutes to make sure that the deal that we're trying to get, I like to refer to it as the parole clinic or doctor's building that's located on Spring Street, behind what used to be called Roper Hospital built property. The city has made an offer, and the price of the property is $165,000. And the discussion with the council was whether to move forward with our option. And I'd like to recognize Mr. Looney to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the city manager and city staff to move toward purchase of the old Perot Clinic at a price of $165,000 to have an environmental impact study done and due diligence, and with the successful environmental impact study, move toward final purchase.
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Economic Development Report, Jerry, next call. And I would like to thank all of you for your patience for sitting outside for that moment. Jerry?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be with you as always. The weather cooperated this year, and the Marble Festival went very well. I would categorize it as a success. We had about 6,000 people through the gate. Preliminary counts, maybe a few more. Good vendor turnout. I think good participation overall as far as people making purchases and enjoying the festival. I do think we need to revisit it and maybe think about making some changes. The market is much more crowded. There's a lot of other things going on at the same time. When you look at the attendance figures, they've essentially been pretty flat. And again, I think if we probably don't address it, it could become very stale. And so my objective is to get a big table, a lot of smart people around it, and have discussions to see what we can do to enhance it. But again, I would characterize this year's festival as very much the success. It was good going out, went very well, ran very smoothly, and I was very pleased this year. And the teams and others just did a tremendous job. Also coming up on Wednesday, October the 19th, we are going to have another social at the end of Main Street in the green space there. We had one in August that went very well, had another one in September. That was a great event, but it was during spring break. It was during the gas crisis. And when I pulled out of Mary Street to go to it, and I saw one car to the left and one car to the right, I did become concerned about the turnout. And the turnout was probably about half what we had the previous month. What we did this month, I did question whether we wanted to have it again. We sent out invitations to merchants and other chamber members. We had a meeting. Everybody sat around the table. And the merchants decided that they did want to move forward with the event in October. Again, October 19th. They didn't want to stay with the format that we had. There'll be a few enhancements. We're going to put some tables and chairs up at the upper level where the food, or where the band is, so people can get their food and then come up there and eat and enjoy the music. So several enhancements, and this will be the final one of the year. More information will be forthcoming. We will have local music again. And I would just encourage everyone to mark the calendars for October 19th from 5 to 8 o'clock to come out and interact with all your fellow people in the community and spend a little money and enjoy the nice weather before it gets really cold.
And before we move on, Jerry,
Yes, sir.
to clarify the council's move to purchase the property on Pro, which is butts this property, the old doctor's building is a building that we're concerned with environmental issues, but that building is a structure that is in good stead, and we intend to build bathrooms in that building so that when people ask you walking on the street for the parades or socials, we will have a facility where people can actually go into a restroom facility on Main Street without having to ask one of the local businesses if they might use those facilities. Something that this mayor has been asked for by car show personnel or Jeep Fest, or you name the group, New Year's Eve, whatever the case may be on Main Street, Christmas parades, where can we go to the bathroom? So this would accommodate, this is the main reason the council was interested in purchasing this property, to add to that. So.
And I think that's a great idea. And I support that 100% and very appreciative of you all taking that action. The other thing I want to share with you, so the movie opportunity that we discussed last month at the Cove Road property, I am pleased to say that I did negotiate an amount above the $7,000. The contract was $12,500. So we did very well in the contract negotiation. The bad news is that about 2 weeks after that, they cut the scene from the movie along with another scene that was going to take place at a private residence. And it was very disappointing because, again, I was very proud of myself and I thought that'd be a great revenue opportunity for the city. Not a huge amount, but, you know, still significant. It's happened before when the Tom Cruise movie was here. They cut a scene that was going to take place in our community. Doesn't have anything to do with us or our abilities and anything that we've offered to them. Just as they move forward with the production on these movies, they start rationalizing certain scenes. And he said it was just starting to run long, and they had to make some cuts, and they cut our 2 locations. So it's rather disappointing. But again, certainly appreciate the support on that effort. And you know, everything I do, I try to take the approach that it's going to live beyond the specific opportunity. So the movie location manager was very pleased and happy with how we treated him. He gets a lot of the big films. The first time I met him was on The Hunger Games. So perhaps it will, down the road, result in another opportunity for us. Last thing I want to share is that we have 1 new industrial opportunity that I'm working, and then 1 new warehouse opportunity, and this is through one of our local companies, but they are leasing, or seeking to lease some significant space within the community, and certainly with things being warehoused and the creation of a few extra jobs, all that will be a good plus for our community. So that's all I have for this month, unless there's some questions or comments.
Questions, Council? Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Financial report, Lisa?
In your packet, you should have the financial report for the month of, and year-to-date of September 2016. At that point in time, we should be at 75% of our budget, and all departments and funds are at 75 or below. So we're right at budget right at this time. We collected in the general funds sales tax last month of $90,047. Year-to-date, that brings it to $788,233, which is slightly higher than year-to-date last year of $787,980. That's at 72% of budget, by the way.
Is that lost or splosh you're referring to?
That's the general fund is lost.
Lost, okay.
Sales tax, regular sales tax. And moving to the technology surcharge account, we have a cash balance, we have a pretty good cash balance in there right now, $90-something thousand, and that's, we've collected, moved so far this year into that account $20,489. Moving on to the hotel motel fund. It looks a little misbalanced right now because we are due to pay them a payment this month for the last quarter. So that'll.
VMB in the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Chamber of Commerce, we pay 66.67% of our hotel motel collected. Moving on to Fund 321 of 2014 SPLOST. At this time, we have $529,319 in that account. We are committed, I've got on the spreadsheet $343,900, but our paving contract, we paved more roads as they talked about, I think maybe in the work session we talked about that. I haven't double checked this. Lindsay did a quick add up of the tonnage used, and it looked like it's gonna be close to $400,000 for that paving job, not including striping.
So we should be setting, going into the winter of about $120,000.
Yeah. The water fund, it looks like we haven't collected enough in revenue, but you got to remember the grant money we budgeted, grant revenue we budgeted, so that's why that looks a little low, but we're right at budget on our expenditures. In the sanitation fund, Fund 540, the water fund so far this year has supported $15,000 of that fund, and we have budgeted $38,000, so just to support them. And municipal court fund, we don't have all the payments showing, but we don't have August and September's reports from the police department yet to report that. And in the back of that normal report I normally present, I've also included the latest month's expenditures, checks written over $5,000. In the ad valorem account, that's just moving money from our taxes collected into the general fund. General operating, most of it's self-explanatory. We did have a payment to James Electric for an impeller for a pump we purchased, labor and equipment, we capitalized that. It's such a large amount. And 40 line, we paid $8,500, and that's for the meter and supplies for the hospital meter that we just did. Lost is all paid, Kimley Horn.
Is that the last page on the
We haven't been changing.
We've got 4,000 more to pay them. That's number 3. Kimley Horn,
Oh.
yes, is that
With
last
the
one?
last
We owe $4,000 more.
Just
That's all I had to. speak
questions,
on.
council? Thank you, Lisa. Questions, council? Animal control, Lonnie? We need a light moment. Do you have anything?
I have nothing. I've had one call this month and, there wasn't much to it.
Well, then talk about paving.
Okay, we have completed all the paving for this year. We did Magnolia Station and Ridgewood, Cove Road, Fox Run, Sharp Top Ridge, Old Bird Mountain, and Oak Cove Road. We finished all those. I have notified the striping company to come in and give me some figures on striping. They have not contacted me back yet. All the striping companies have been very, very busy this year.
Okay, for the record, people who are watching from Arbor Hills, what do you have planned for that?
Okay, we're planning on putting some stop bars at stop signs. We were gonna be discussing whether to stripe it or, you know, whatever needs to be done there.
You don't need stripe.
But we are definitely gonna put the stop
Bars,
bars
okay.
at all the stop signs.
And also for the record, you're gonna have the turn lane in front of the old building on Mary Street. So, and people have been asking this, and why I want it on the record, I've been telling them that it's gonna be done. Okay.
Yeah, I've already added that into the distance that I'm relating to the striping.
And also, you're looking at some restriping in front of City Hall where the trucks pretty much obscured our existing lines. So we'll have a little extra cost because of damage done by the trucks carrying the tar and asphalt.
And also some restriping done on Jeanette where we
That's
had
gone bad as well.
all of that will be on this same thing.
So we're not real clear when we'll get the striping started.
No, not yet.
They're behind.
Everybody's behind, and I've checked with the companies, and I'm just waiting on phone calls to give us an estimated date.
But I will tell you, usually they'll give you that, and next thing you know, they're striping. They don't give, they're not really particular as to when they tell you they'll be here as long as you tell them to come. So you might see it on the way home. Okay. Anything else? Any questions, council? Police Chief Greg Lovell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again. City of Jasper Police Department for the month of September responded to 878 calls for service from the 911 center, responded to 53 motor vehicle accidents, issued a total of 111 citations for the following: 80 for speed and 1 seatbelt, 1 reckless driving, 23 miscellaneous violations, 6 for suspended or revoked. Georgia State Patrol issued a total of 73 for a grand total of City Court 184. Total 5 state warrants were issued: 1 for simple battery, family violence, 1 for simple assault, family violence, 1 felony shoplifting, 2 theft by taking misdemeanors. Responded to the following calls: 33 alarm calls, 15 disorderly, 24 harassment, 4 trespassing or loitering, 76 suspicious activity calls, 25 domestic disputes, and investigated burglaries.
Questions, council? Thank you, Chief. Chief Roper, Fire.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. For the month of September, the city's fire department responded to 100 emergencies. Those were no structure fires inside or outside the city limits, 4 vehicle fires inside, none outside, 2 grass fires inside, none outside, 11 motor vehicle accidents with injuries inside the city, 2 outside, 37 emergency medical responses in, 30 out, 10 other calls inside, 4 outside. As of the end of the month, it was 1,040. Fire inspection program looked at 2 sets of plans for renovation, conducted 18 inspections.
Questions, council? I just gotta say the burn ban, surely y'all not issuing any burn permits?
It's actually the Georgia Forestry Commission has put the permits on hold because it is so dry.
Okay.
But the ban was lifted October 1st, but they're not issuing.
Right, I thought so. Any questions, council? Thank you, Chief.
You.
With that, Mr. Faust is not with us today, and we usually get a report from JYSA, but with him not being here, would entertain a motion.
There we go.
Thank you for being here.